Okay, so today we're going to be working on how to find our factors by looking at the equation. But I would like to summarize something on the top of your page so you can really understand all of the different words that we use. All I want to do, I want you to draw like this simple graph that goes through -3 and -2. Okay, that's all I want you to do is draw that. Now here's the million-dollar question. What are the factors of that? It's x minus 3. What is it? X plus 3, right. X plus 2 are the factors. Okay? And this would also equal, because why are these the factors? Because they equal x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay? That is the equation of that. Those are the things that multiply to give you that graph. Those are called the factors. The reason why I am now going to do this next part is so you see how different they are. Okay? -3 and -2 are called the zeros, or the roots, or the x-intercepts. Now, this is something that if you mix these up, you will be giving them the wrong answers. And they will have those there for you to pick. It's really nice of them that you don't actually have to go looking for the wrong answers. They give them right to you. Okay? So, but today, we're going to even make that a little more confusing because I will be looking at factors inside just the last number of the equation. Okay? Now, so hopefully you've got that on a study sheet somewhere and a nice diagram to be able to understand, okay, yeah. So the numbers that are actually on the graph are not my factors. Okay? Everybody knows these are not your factors. They are these. Okay? And when this equals 0, 0 represents what? The remainder, aka the y value. Okay? So when does this thing equal 0? Well, that's called the zeros. Roots, x-intercepts. Okay? This is a lot more difficult than you think because this is where everybody gets mixed up. Okay? So if you look at this graph of this equation, okay, x squared, the factors are this, the roots are -2 and 3, right? Here's where this gets confusing. -2 and -3 are factors of -6. Okay? So, how are we going to be looking for our roots? Our roots will be factors of the constant. Now I'm using factors with roots. Before, 3 minutes ago, factors were the things that multiplied to get the equation. Okay? So we've got to keep that really, really clear. The way you find your roots is look at the factors of the constant. Okay? Yep. Exactly. I'm going to show you that. Okay? So this is how we're going to start going about this now. Okay? Now again, these are ways to make your life simpler, believe it or not. Okay? So, but we got to not get confused of when to do what way, etc., etc. Okay? So what I am now going to do is let's go to the next page. Okay, and I'm going to answer your question. If we have this polynomial, list the potential zeros of this polynomial. Because Koreash is just like, what? You just like out of the blue? -2 and 3. Okay? No, these are two of the many possibilities. Okay? So we look at the last number and we list all the factors. Now this is what I do. I go, okay, 1, yeah. 2 goes in, yeah. 3 goes in, yeah. 6 goes in. And then I do this, plus minus. It'll always be plus minus because 2 times -3 works. -2 times 3 works, okay? So these should all be, those are all the ones that could work. Now there's only going to be 3 because it's an x cubed. So if you look there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's not all 8 of those. Okay, why do I say there's 8? Because +1 and -1 are two different numbers. Now the question is, how do you start? Do you just put each one in? Now if I put each one in, which ones would I go, hey, that's a root? 1 equals 0. Why? Because that's the y value. When the y equals 0, that is a x-intercept. X-intercept's a root. That's all good. Okay? So, list the potential factors. What would they be? X -1, x plus 1, x minus 2, x plus 2, x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 6, x plus 6. Okay? So this is going to mess with your head a bit. How did I find those roots? They're the factors of -6. How do I find the factors? They're the opposite of the roots. So I use factors twice, but I have to use it in a sentence, or else it's not relevant. Okay? So these are the factors, possible factors of this. These are the possible factors of this entire thing. Okay, does that make sense? Corey, does it make sense? Okay. Now, we're going to do just 2 examples today to really show you how this works. And then you're going to have lots of time to work in class. So if you have any questions, you can ask during class. Okay? Now, the first thing is we look at this entire equation, and I go, factor it. And you're like, huh? What? How do I start that? Maybe I'll graph it. I'll just find them all using graphing. Example 2, that would work. Example 3, that would not work. So I need to show you example 2, like how you would do it, like I'm going to give you on an exam or a diploma, where the graphing calculator will not get it for you. Okay? So I'm going to pretend my graphing calculator button just broke, and I can only use the other calculator that I brought in, that $1.99 cheap one that I found in my parents' drawer, but it was in case my first calculator broke down, which is a scary, scary thing. It is. Like, your calculator stops working. Now, when I used to teach at a big high school where you have, 300 students writing the diploma that day, there is a chance, and it always happens, someone's calculator just done. Right? It doesn't work. So that's why we have 5 ready to go. But it always happens. Okay? But if teachers didn't have them for you, in a lot of like university classes, people just bring in 2. Okay? Because it is one of those things where you're walking out going, I'm so glad I brought that, versus my calculator died on me. I had no calculator. They didn't have any calculator for me. Okay? So if I just had a $1.99 calculator, how could I do this one? Well, what would be all my potential zeros? So what are all the factors of 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, right? And then you put your plus minuses in front. Because a negative 3 times a negative 4 is... So this will be the kind of question I will give you, because I want to see, would you even know that? I'd give that a mark, right? What are all the potential zeros? Okay, now it says, express the polynomial in factored form. So, the first thing you have to realize is this is x to the 4. So I'm going to have 4 factors. Okay? Make sure you're understanding that this would have 4 factors. Finding them is kind of like a wild goose chase. Like, how do you even start? Yep. That would be part 2 tomorrow. Okay. So if you're going to run, it would be before tomorrow's lesson. Okay. Now, okay, that's a really good question. Actually, this is how we do it if there is a 1 in front. Okay? Actually, thanks for saying that, because then tomorrow is going to be so much more of an awesome day. Now, how would you start this one with your $1.99 calculator? Or would you just give up? Take it again next year. Yeah, that makes sense. Quitters. Huh? Start putting numbers into X and see if you get the number 0. Okay? You know what? How many is there? Right? There's 4 of them out of these. So you will find them in about 5 minutes. Okay? But if I want you to really speed things up, find one of them. In this case, you'll want to find 2 of them, and the others are fast to find. Always get it so it's x squared. So you got to keep chopping it down. Now, find me the first one. 1, you found 1? Okay. So we got to test 1. So that would be 1 to the 4 plus 2 times 1 cubed minus 7 times 1 squared minus 8 times 1 plus 12. This works out to be 1 plus 2 minus 7 minus 8 plus 12. This does equal 0. Okay? So, we're going to go to synthetic division. We're going to divide this by x minus 1. I already know one of the factors is x minus 1. Okay? So we're going to go through synthetic division. Now, do I know an easier way to do number 2? Yes, only because I know the answer. Okay? So I'm not going to give you the easy way to do number 2, because I would just graph it, find all of my x's, and I'd be done fast. Okay? But when I say show me the work algebraically, that will only give you the answers. Okay? I need to see the work. And it will fail you for example 3, so I would not give you one like example 2. Good question. Which one would that be? X minus 1. 1 is a root. X minus 1 is the factor. Okay? So, let's do this. What are my numbers? 1, 2, negative 7, negative 8, 12. So I'm just going to bring down the 1 here. 1 times 1 is 1. So I add those together, I get 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Add those together, I get negative 4. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Add those two together, I get negative 12. Okay, here again, I will get negative 12. Add those together, and I better get 0. So are we all going to make stupid mistakes in here? Yes, and I can actually say all of us. But we'll catch them because of these things, right? There's things put into place that we know I got to go back and change it. Okay? So the first thing I have now done is I know that this is what it looks like so far. So x minus 1 times 1x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay? Now, same thing. If I could find one more using my remainder theorem or factor theorem, right? They're the same thing. Remainder theorem, factor theorem. Factor theorem is remainder equals 0. Anyone find another one that works? 2. Yes, 2 does work. Okay? Now, it doesn't take that long to do it. Okay? So 2 does work. Therefore, what is a factor? X minus 2. But I'm going to put 2 into, am I going to put it into the original equation? No, because then I haven't really, I'm trying to break that thing down. So I'm going to put it into this equation here, right? I'm going to put it in here. So that's going to be 1, 3, negative 4, negative 12. Okay, bring down the 1, 2 times 3. 2 times 1 is 2, 3 plus 2 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 4 and 10 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. I get 0. Okay? So now I'm at this stage. X minus 1 times x minus 2 times x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, why do I say we always need to get to x squared? Because you always know how to deal with that. That I'm looking for two numbers that add to 5 multiplied to 6. What are they? 2 and 3, right? So x minus 1, x minus 2, x plus 2, and x plus 3. I have done what they asked. That is it in factored form. What are the roots? 1, 2, negative 2, negative 3. So, just write that for us. The roots are 1, 2, negative 2, and negative 3. Okay? So, this is the factors. These are the roots, right? Again, that's something you need on a study sheet. And I'm going to just talk about it so much the next week. And you will not forget it for the exam you're going to write. I plugged it in and got the answer 0. I got people, you guys, to test it. So what I would have to do, this is my question, I would get the equation, and I actually type it out. I don't know if you guys have ever tried this, but this is the faster way to do it. You might even go, well, the fastest way is to graph, okay? But let's just go here. What you do is you, first of all, make x equals 0. So you take, oh, sorry, you try your numbers. So I'm going to try 1 first. So 1, store x, and then you have to press enter. That's what x is now, okay? So then I would put in my equation, okay? And my equation is 1x to the 4 plus 2 x cubed minus 7x squared plus 12. Now, if you press enter, I did something wrong. Okay. Now, this is what I need to do to be able to try negative 1. Okay? You ready? So I'd go negative 1 store x, and then I have to press enter, so it's in there. Now I have to press second enter twice. Then I press equals again. Negative 1 is not a factor. Do you think that's quick? It is a quicker way then, yes. Just remember you saw it here. It's not the first time I've been asked that. Okay, so just watch this again. I would now try 2. So I will go 2 store x, enter. Then I go second enter, and then press enter again. 2 works. I can also check my other ones because supposedly negative 2 is supposed to work. So negative 2 store x, enter, second enter, enter. Yeah, it does. No, because of the next question I'm going to show you. Okay, now the next question is the reason why you cannot use just guessing and testing. Because all the factors of 1 do not have to be integers. Okay? Huh? Root 1 times root 1 is 1 times 1, unfortunately. Well, that's why we're going to do this question, okay? Okay, you guys ready? I want everyone looking at this because you need to see. Example 2 was, hey, this is how to do it. Example 3 is why all your little shortcuts that you thought of aren't going to work. Okay? So your dreams have now been crushed after this, okay? Can everybody graph this, please? Because if you don't graph this first, you're wasting lots of time. Same with the one we just did. Now, the one we just did, if you graphed it, we would have been done that question in about 10 seconds. Okay, and you should always draw a rough sketch of your graph so this becomes relevant the whole time you're looking at the picture. A lot of us do better with a picture there. Oh, that's not right. Yeah, I forgot my x there. That's wrong too. Man, it's a good thing I'm recording this. X cubed minus 3 x squared. Oh, that's okay. There, we happy now? Okay, so can you now just quickly do a rough sketch right here? That's what my rough sketch looks like. So, to the nearest hundredth, what are all of the answers? Or what are all the roots? -1, 0.27, and 3.73. Now this is what I'm going to give you on the quiz tomorrow, and this is what I'm going to give you on your unit test. Okay? The only time you should walk out surprised is when you go, I thought he was going to give us one of those. Remember how they didn't work out nice? That's when you should be surprised. Okay? I'm hoping you are never surprised with a question I give you, more even when you walk out of the diploma. Like, I was so ready for that type of question, but they didn't even ask it. Or, I was so ready for that question, I'm glad they asked it. Okay? Now, this is the way I'm going to get through this. I really only know one true factor. The other ones I don't know. Now, my calculator will not get me those, but my calculator will sure help me check them. Okay? So I am going to get radical answers. If I'm getting radical answers, what do you think I'm using today? The quadratic formula. Okay? Okay, let's go. So, the first thing is we need to whittle this down to an x squared always. I will use -1 out there. Is -1 a factor? Is -1 a factor? It is a factor of my constant, but it is not the factor of the equation. The factor of the equation is x plus 1. So one of my factors is x plus 1. I want x plus 1 times the x squared. Now, are we always looking for 3 x's? Yeah, there'll be 3 x's. Now, it might be the same x 3 times. Like it might be x minus 3 times x minus 3 times x minus 3, but it's still really 3 things multiplied. Okay? So if I put my -1, I'm going to put 1, -3, -3, 1. And I'm going to do my static division. Bring down the 1. Oh, computers are running slow today. So bring down my 1. -1 times, that's -1. If I add the two together, I get -4. -1 times -4 is 4. -3 and 4 is 1. -1 times 1 is -1. I get the answer 0. So my new whittled down equation is x plus 1 times 1x squared minus 4x plus 1. Okay? Now, we know we don't have it totally factored because I still have an x squared. If you ever have x to an exponent, you didn't go far enough. Okay? So, if it's an x to the 4th that I give you on the test, there'll be 2 of them that you'll be able to get with looking at they're going to be nice integers that are multiplied to 1, or multiplied to 4. If I gave you an x to the 5, 3 of them you'll be able to get easily with your calculator. The other 2, you'll have to use your quadratic formula. Okay? Now I have no problem at all telling you I'm going to give you one of those on the test. I am for sure going to give you one of those on the test. So, the only way you're going to be ready for it is you're going to study that one, which is my goal. Okay? You don't need to trick students. This is what I need you to know. Okay? So this is what you need to do it. Good. You walk out with that skill, everybody's happy. So you need to know this skill. What two numbers add to give me -4, multiply to give me 1? They're not nice, are they? Okay? So we've got to use our quadratic formula. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? Now it doesn't hurt, you guys, to just do this. That's a, that's b, that's c. Okay, just keep it straight. So x equals negative. I actually don't try to do any math at this point. I just get it all in. That's -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. So x equals, that's 4 plus or minus. I get the answer 12 underneath all over 2. Okay? Now, at this point, you're always going to be asked, you're always going to ask yourself, can I simplify that 12? Is there a perfect square in 12? Yeah, 4. 4 times 3, right? The 4 comes out to become so that's 2 root 3. Root 12 is the same thing as 2 root 3. So then I will have x equals 4 plus or minus 2 root 3 all over 2. Now, when all three of these are divisible by a number, that's the only time. If just 2 of them, okay, then leave it where it is. But this would be 2 plus or minus root 3. So what are my final answers? Well, it's asked me for, find the zeros. So the zeros are what? -1. 2 plus root 3 and 2 minus root 3. Now, what is a good way to be able to ask this in the diploma? Because if this was a multiple choice, you could just graph it and then all of your answers, change them to decimals and see. They're not going to give you this as a multiple choice. Okay? They just may ask you to add these 3 numbers together and to the nearest hundredth, write it in the box. There's no chance you're getting this one by using your calculator. But the cool thing is you can guarantee these are right. Okay? So do you understand that your calculator will never give you the answers for most of these questions, but almost always will tell you if you got them right. It's like me when I'm walking around. I'm not going to give you the answers, but I'll tell you if they're right. I'll tell you if they're wrong. Right? I don't feel like I'm actually, helping you learn less because I'm getting you off the hook. Right? It's feedback, so you can go and change it, or feedback so you know to keep it the same. Yes. Yeah. That's probably why they wouldn't ask you that in factored form. Okay. Yeah, because really in factored form, we always say we have to keep everything in integers, right? So that's why they might just ask for the zeros. Okay. And they do it so creatively that there is no way you'll get them with your calculator, right? But you do need it to help you get these. Okay, it does help you with the ones to get it whittled down to at least an x squared left, then use your quadratic. Okay, so we're doing 1 to 6, 10a, and 11 to 13. Okay, so let's get right at it so you don't have any homework. I mean, just by walking around, I could tell you guys did very well in today's quiz. So you might have one of those perfect days. 100 on your quiz and no homework.